Speaking of your podcast, I'm thinking that was just last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was last week. Might have been. Talking about this purging thing, getting
Uh-huh.
how maybe it's necessary to purge. Tell me about that, and let's talk a little bit about this, your concept of purging, and
Mm-hmm.
why. In other words, I looked at it and said, no, I'm not getting rid of my articles. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
I'm not,
not your
yeah,
articles,
yeah,
your people,
yeah,
your connections. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah,
keep your
yeah.
content. Your content is your assets. So what it is, I think it's almost over, but in the last month or two, LinkedIn, people would wake up overnight and depending on their accounts, they'd have hundreds to thousands of followers gone. Like, what happened? Well,
Yeah,
LinkedIn was purging. We called it the big purge. Inactive accounts, fake accounts, all the things that just weren't up to the terms and conditions. So they wiped out, I don't know how many, but probably millions of fake accounts.
which is
LinkedIn
good.
right now, yeah, it's very good. They're hovering, I think by the end of the year or maybe early next year, they'll probably be up to 1 billion people on the platform. So it was time for a cleanup, right? Spring cleaning is what they were doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's not a bad thing. Now, we even tell you how 2 years ago, she and I did that too. And I'll tell you the context of why I did it and she did it. She was in the B2B beauty supply industry in B2B sales. I was in insurance and legal and B2B professional services. I said on the podcast, look, I realized if I take off some of my connections that will never get, they never were on LinkedIn, they were not in the industry I'm writing about, and a lot of them were retired. I'll have a cleaner, healthier account because what LinkedIn does is shows a percentage every time you post cross somehow their algorithm will show you like a small percentage to your connections, right? So if these people are not on LinkedIn or they never go, so you just have dead weight, so to speak, right? So I cleaned about 2,000 people off. Nothing personal, just, it was just a different
Yeah.
industry. So that was, it gave me a fresh take on things. I have a better chance of the algorithm hitting the people, so to speak, of who's going to see it. She did the same thing because, she was now writing about LinkedIn and these people could care less about LinkedIn. So just as we go through our stuff, Glenn, we clean house, we get rid of, clothes we don't use anymore, odds and ends. It's just kind of good to do that. I don't, it takes a while, but it's worth it. But LinkedIn did that for us for the people who are illegal or not illegal, but inactive spam
Fake. Yeah,
accounts. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. So quality over
So
quantity.
like I said, I started out before I listened to it with the wrong concept of it, but now I started thinking, okay, well, maybe I should go in and certain industries. So like I used to, I don't think we talked about this before, and don't think the audience really knows this anymore. I used to be a keynote speaker, right? And I still do it on rare occasions.
Mm-hmm.
But I had so many, and I have so many training people who are speakers and trainers on my LinkedIn, and they're kind of like me. I don't need to learn anything from anybody else, so they're not following. I'm taking from the podcast that what we're saying is trim that down, and you'll get a better results,
Mm-hmm.
and your content will be put out there more.
Mm-hmm.
So if I went in and just pulled up uh, the search for like speakers
Mm-hmm.
and trainer consultants and things like that, then I could just quickly just go through there and just remove them.
Absolutely. And I will find on our show notes if you want that episode, we can link it because Michelle did this for her B2B clients. She actually recorded a YouTube video on how to do
Oh,
that, a mass way to do it. Because what she and I did over 2 months, I remember this like 2 years ago, I'd pull up my phone, go through my connections, and just kind of, it took a long time. So she has a little bit faster way to do it if someone has an exorbitant amount of connections. Um, but it's not something you have to rush and do. It's just something to think about, and especially if you switch entire industries, professions, and you say, you know what, I'm going to get on LinkedIn, and these people probably will never want to read my stuff. So it's almost like a clean slate, and it's nothing personal. I keep wanting to stress that it's nothing against these people. It's just a
no.
marketing decision. You know.
Does that hurt though? Okay, so approaching 20,000. If I do that, I'm sure I'm going to drop all the way back down to 15, 10,000, someplace in that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How does that hurt my content being put out there?
No, I mean, don't you want to, like it's, I mean, listen, I don't know the algorithm. I don't work for LinkedIn, but just from what I've seen and trained people on,
Mm-hmm.
it shows, the algorithm shows your content to a cross section of people, and I don't, no one really knows the algorithm on that. So if these people, are never going to care about your or interested in your posts, it just seems that logically that when you have people who are more in your industry or your interest area, perhaps that you will get a like or an engagement or something. But on the flip side, we have to remember it's quality over quantity. We're going for people here. A lot of people on LinkedIn still do not read posts. So when you cut people, just say, is this person going to be someone that down the road? Or for me, it was a definite no. I was never going back to insurance or legal, like across the board, right? So you just kind of have to think about it. Again, I don't want to preach this. It's all or nothing. You got to think about the things, does it, these thoughtful things, and see if it's right for you. And that's what Michelle and I preach. Do not just take blanket advice, make
Well,
sure
no,
it's right.
that's why I didn't do it. I remember it was. I think he put that out on June 6th. That's why I didn't do it June 7th. So let me sit down and think about it for a minute.